In my childhood, cycling was one of my favorite sports of all times. And since I thought I decided not to ride a bike again, I finally returned to my senses and started getting a bike of my own. And I already have. It's not just any bike. It's a road bike. And not just any road bike. It's a Japanese road bike. This is the Takara Kabuto 700, named by slightly a cycling company called Vitesse Racing. It's also meant to become one of the most forgotten bike brands of its cycling history. But looking at it from a bird's eye view, she's a beauty. And she'll run like the wind unlike any other bikes could. Not only for racing, pretty much the highly nostalgic, short-term ancestry had become well known for its Japanese biking culture. Even before time, in generations, including the noodle delivery boy, the arts of cycling moments alike. Mostly Fuji, for instance, from military to career purposes, from tuning to racing. From OG to this ugly thing, which I find is super angled that you're gonna have to find many ways to break your back. And that name, Kabuto, sounds a bit familiar of whom I remembered. Maybe not. Don't answer if this doesn't ring any bells. This bike I've brought in has stakes of its high value. And if you want me to tell you where I've got it from and how much it cost, I'm not gonna tell you, it never will. But a few tips. This has to be by far the most expensive bike I ever owned, besides my nostalgia out of every other bike I've ever owned. Like, for those who've known the bike brand, Next, which was manufactured by the W Word supermarket, which I can't say out loud. And now the sources are so-so in marketing, pretty much online. But they've created lit bicycles with design and ingenuity that have full potentials of speed and agility at every gear of the way on mountain bikes and BMX bikes alike. And to be honest, I'm usually a mountain bike guy, and as such, I used to own my very first kids version in blue and yellow, with no wheels at that time. Then the orange and gray one, but then got stolen by some random teenager that doesn't know how to bike, so he took it for nothing. So then I replaced it with my most rideable bike of all times, the Shocker. I had it in black and red, by the way, with its coolest suspension spring built on a piece of base metal that is useful for jumping your bike. And I'm not like, it didn't jump, but how imaginable would it be for me to jump with it? And finally, I had a Mongoose, the exact colorway as you can see here. So many bike memories, I just want to cry so bad. But out of every one of them, I only use them for the road. And then comes this one. I mean, such a pure mind of existence to imagine myself. How pleasant am I to take part of this mission, to own a road bike, to cleanse it, and to take care of it. And a while back, it took me a short amount of annoying time just to get exactly what I wanted. By all means, it is in good condition. It just needs some slight repairs like a flat tire replacement, which is what I'm gonna do for this video. And then I'll try to clean it to become shiny and new once again. But I'm not in a good mood to do that right now. So I stored the bike away in a safe place where no one can steal it. Closed the garage door. And then went to bed. But then I have another thought before I even probably thought I couldn't close my eyes for nothing. Out of everything I've done to get this bike. Like I said. And it all started literally at dawn. Browsing, searching, sniffing, my eyes cracking up. It may not look promising to you as if it determines on why I stay up all night for this retarded reason. And after a whole lot of eyeballing torture, I'm starting to lose hope. Right when something just got listed. Coming straight full screen. It's beautiful. It's venomous. It's dangerous. And it's perfect. So perfect that I was gonna contact the owner right away from there, just when my computer went pitch black. And it just got me annoyed and thought for a second, I did this for nothing. And here I am, stranded, but even though you think in between, I got the bike, but even though I didn't contact the owner. And you're probably wondering why I've disassembled the bed. The hallway may be a hint for you, but it might ruin the surprise. And because I've reached the guy by phone instead and met him by morning to pick it up, I gave myself another thought that I should get out of bed and go straight to work. And the first thing to do for restoring this road bike is to not take everything apart but just the tires in case I have to do some cleaning. And I thought I never knew how to repair a bike before until I noticed as if it's like changing a spare tire out of a car. This could be similar to what I'm about to do. So for some reason, I like to know what it's like to become a bike repairer. And if this works for me, I can be able to think about opening a bike shop with a variety of bikes to sell and a workshop to repair bikes for any other customer willing to take trustee of my repairing experience. So with my proper tools ready, I've unscrewed the nut bolts and took the wheels off. And it's really important to make sure that these bolts have a proper spot of where I exactly put them, so you don't ever get to lose track of things. Exactly at the rotary spot. Perfect. Okay, then I left the wheels at a perfect spot where I can deal with them a little bit later. And then comes the next stage, which is cleaning. And the only way to get into that entirely, I should clear out some rust first. And good thing the metal components didn't tear off from too much rust, or I would have got this bike for nothing. And cleaning the rust could be something I can do, which might be a problem or two. Firstly, I could use white vinegar and salt to let the rust of some metal pieces set to cleansing except the bike chains. And I should have known that in order to take off the chains, you have to rip it off and find a difficult way to put it back together, which I find really hard for me to do. So I'm gonna move on to another site, which is another problem. Even I won't be able to add vinegar everywhere, I was gonna use WD-40 to spray on some of the rust, but that's not the purpose of that. It just restores for smoothness, and I highly doubt that there could be another way to clear out the rust with something else to apply. That's something solid and thick that could relate to vinegar. Until I just realized ketchup should be able to clear out the rust. And you might think I'm gonna mix flavored rust dust and ketchup as a rusty dusty condiment for your appetizer, which is really disgusting. I get it. And I'm not gonna do that on purpose, if you can imagine that for a while. The idea that should be able to work was inspired by mostly from a guy behind the camera who shows rapid cleaning on cars and precisely tools and tools only, with both white vinegar and ketchup in comparison, as a reliable source for cleaning rust for good, whether it's homemade or packaged ready. A thick tomato condiment paste that also contains one or two of the familiar ingredients, white vinegar and salt. Yeah, simply you just apply the ketchup on any other rusted spot and then let them sit for 3 to 6 hours or a day or few. And then dab them into water and baking soda for the final finish. But I'm gonna scrub them instead since it's a bike itself. Now this is kind of another rust cleaning method that should be able to do something that I've never noticed before. I can't guarantee its results, but in order to find out, I'll have to test it out first. So with some ketchup applied on a spoon, I also applied it on each rusted area on the bike, including the chains. And maybe more of a messy kind of a job since you're seeing me dripping and then dropping a whole lot of ketchup out of me. That's kind of a waste and so sticky that I have to use my hands at this time to tap every spot literally rusted. And to make sure it works well, I let this sit for a week. Meanwhile, it's time to do the next stage, replacing the tires, which might be complicated, but I'm just here to learn things. I was gonna go for the big ones like this spare tire from the Mercedes, but it won't fit. And that's not something to joke around with. If I'm gonna fit them directly, I'll have to do some extra modifications. Something I would like to try, but for now, I need something that could fit the fork of this bike. And luckily, I did. when I bought the quantity of two 700 by 32C bike tire replacement kit with the tire air tubes and the tire prying set to remove and reinstall the outer tire rubber. And I was definitely about to get the same exact clean green rubbers with the kit of the tire tubes and releasing materials. But honestly, these things are really hard to find, and my only best shot of fitting this style has to be whatever is entirely black with color strip lines on it. And the brown may be the worst choice I could come up with. So I'm gonna have to stick with original green rubber from the bike that are still in good condition. And as long as I ride the bike carefully, I'll be sure that the tube doesn't puncture that easily. So I'm just gonna have to replace the tubes on each wheel. Or actually, one wheel. One of them because it's in good condition, which means it has no punctures, but the other one does. So that one I will get my hands on. So the way I'm going to do this is to remove the outer rubber. Only just a few minutes later, I've accidentally misplaced the prying set that is sealed in a bag that I haven't opened yet. This makes sense. I literally had it. It was right there. I don't know where I placed it this time. This is so weird. There's no way I'm gonna fix this tire in no time. I'm finished. I'm so finished. And unlikely, I'm gonna have to use something else to finish the job. Otherwise, there is another method of removing your very own car tire out of the rim without using any machinery. The first thing to do is to grab the rubber with your fingers through the rim ridge and pull it out. Or another way to pry this thing is to use a slot screwdriver. Slide it through, then pry it out one side to the next. Make sure you do the same method all around it. Once the rubber came out, then comes the maneuvered air tube. Then comes the new air tube. Though I had to be sure I got them in the correct size. And I'm guessing this may be universal from 25 to 32C size, which means this should be able to fit through the ridge of the wheel. So with the tube applied around the rim, as I make sure I enter in the valve through the rim. And I kind of find it strange that there's a piece of a screwable ring that's supposed to be placed on the outside to hold the valve. And now the outer rubber back the way it is. And I'm gonna have to try to pry it back with a screwdriver, carefully, not to poke the tube out. Which is totally nonsense. But it's because my father does those things most of the time when it comes to using tools that are not really handy for important stuff. And now that I've struggled to put the rubber piece back on, it's ready to fill some air. And I thought I have a physical air pump at home, which I couldn't find. But luckily, I have an electrical car tire air pump, or inflator, which I shall call it from now on, for getaway emergency purposes. And it's a good thing I have a car in front of me, so I could be able to finish this bike repair faster. And I might fear that this thing won't be able to fill air faster, which is something I should have known of from the beginning, and which I'll get to in a second. But for now, as I plug it in, start the engine, start the inflator. Nothing worked. At every attempt, still nothing. As I keep blocking this PSI reader with my body too much, telling me nothing. Because of a few things. Whether I got the wrong tube or should have filled some air without that outer rubber, or it's just a car and a bike inflator, but won't fit the valve. The nozzle of this inflator is really different than any other inflators, which I can't find the reason why. And even if I'm never gonna be able to make the bike go on the road again, there might be another approach. Just when I found my little brother's miniature air pump out of a box. With enough luck on the inside, this open hole of the nozzle should be able to fit through the tiniest tip of the valve, which I can't guarantee, but there's only one way to find out, and it may be a struggle just to get that nozzle to sit still. And after knowing if it really worked, So far, still nothing. Whether it sends less air than the electrical inflator, or it's still fully not connected. Which gives me a sneaky idea. This ball pump valve, not the small pin tube, but the nozzle of the tube. And I can have access to a screw on any other inflator. With that, I can easily tell that the valve will be fully connected to the nozzle. Okay, screw the miniature puppet, it's not working. Then I tried the same valve scenario on the electrical inflator. I hate a hard feeling for this. I hope this works. Okay, that's enough. I'm gonna have to look through inside on what's going on. And that's when I finally found the prying kit. There you are. What? So I've never placed it anywhere. It has to be. Please, get off. Maybe the tube got blocked or something. Not precise the way it is or how it meant to be, but let me see what's gonna happen without the outer rubber. And as this PSI reader is about to give me any details of a single airflow coming into the tube, which is not. Instead, it may have built pressure on itself. It may have overheated, which I'm not gonna let that happen. But then I started feeling air in the other one that has no effects and no flats. And as I'm still hiding the PSI, saying that it's doing its work because the nozzle is screwed on the valve. Alright, this might turn you on, and exactly why is this happening? This whole project is starting to become a bit messy. All because of the bike tire kit that I've bought has the right tube size but the wrong valve type. You might look at it as it's so different and so small like I told you earlier, other than the other regular bike valves that were used mostly, which is called Schroeder. The small valve for this tube is called Presta, which is why I'm feeling desperate about it, after all these 2 to 3 hours of taking my breath of it. And after a week because I've spent money on the entire tire kit, and I have no other option left, but I have to think of another way out of doing this. And as I'm still thinking about it, I should check on the base of the bike, and to see if the ketchup done the job of clearing the rust away. Now the next step of disposing this method is to add some water and some baking soda. Mix it up, and then apply it to wherever I place the ketchup on each area. Now entirely, I'm not gonna agree if this kind of method would work, or whether I can't tell the difference because it's literally dark in the garage, even if I have the lights on. I think it actually worked. I did miss some of the rust parts, but most importantly, which could be one way to find out later. Alright, I'm nearly there. I just need to start washing the base of the bike with some soap and water. Everything shiny and squeaky clean. With its rims and its tires. including myself for some reason. Dreadfully, maybe rinsing my own habits shouldn't be a good idea. Still, I don't feel complete yet. When I also found out the rust was supposed to be cleared up with ketchup instead of vinegar. But unfortunately, nothing actually happened. It's just trying to serve itself as a condiment, trying to make me eat rusted metal. Maybe vinegar and salt only should do the job entirely, or any other components, which I can't be sure of.
I thought ketchup would work, but the least I could do is do white vinegar instead.
So I'm gonna have to require another bike video to figure all this out, on how to make the bike look new again. And yet, I'm still not complete and beginning to lose hope. Like I'm having hope to get as many subscribers as possible, or hope to not see Donald Trump complete his final victory lap of the US presidential election.
Nobody deserves this more than him, and nobody deserves this more than his family.
That's what makes him feel complete, but I'm not. It already turns out that I'm about to have a bad year.
Hey you! Are you having a bad year? Or are you about to have a bad year? No need! You can take on all the needs you want with Goodyear. This product will make you get a second chance to feel complete with Goodyear. There are so many ways to finish off 2024 with Goodyear. Like waiting patiently to overcome growing audience of your YouTube channel. Subscribe, by the way. Or instead of watching the downbreaking election race, you can just switch over to the Major League Baseball World Series Championships, where the LA Dodgers take on the throne of the New York Yankees for their winning victory. Oh, catching a lot of breath over here. So no more shivering to warmth. Just reclaim this Goodyear bike tire tube by you jumping off this stinking couch and run straight to work.
And my commercial voice is miserable. And of course, Goodyear Tires is not a paid ad for this video. And unlike whatever it provides, like tires and tubes, they also carry these things for bikes, including what I've got this time. From 25 to 32C size of a 700 series tire tube, which is also a universal size. And this time with a Schroeder valve tip, so that I don't have to even replace the valve tips with ease, which is for sure I won't be able to seal it properly. And I also have something else. You might think I'm still gonna go back to the same old inflator that might have sucked oxygen instead of receiving some. But then I have this, the Slime Tire Repairing Company, and its cordless rechargeable inflator, which is also not a paid ad, but wirelessly useful, capable, portable, and reliable, and claims that it inflates the entire car tire up to 6 minutes, flat to full. So with enough power to pressurize the entire tire in minutes, I'm sure I'll be able to inflate these bike tires in no time. And one way to find out, but it needs to charge. So I did just that, and let it charge for a while. And then later that night, which I find is strange because the same level of charge before is still the same level of charging the inflator in a few hours. So I don't know how I bought this thing that has something to rely on, but I kind of kept it that way and let it charge even further for the next day. And I started to have another good year by starting to replace the mistakable tire tube for the Goodyear tire tube, and threw the mistakable tire tube away. And they're not going to be disposable, as I've noticed in the end that you can also get a valve tip adapter to fit the Schroeder valve and have the access to send air easily. But for now, I just applied the Goodyear tire tube around the rim and the Schroeder valve through it. And I'm going to go simple and small with a small air pump to make sure I don't overfill air before it pops. Otherwise, I'm going to have a heart attack. around to get some air in. Now in theory, I think this thing is even weaker than the other inflator out there, out of the brand name of Mitri. So I tried the most powerful inflator, the slime one. Just if I know how to use this thing, and by powerful you might want to look closely how fast this tube will inflate.
No! It's gonna overdo it!
And surprisingly, it actually works really well. Even if I hope not to overdo it too much. I kind of overdid it. Honestly, I haven't noticed how powerful and fast this inflator is, which is really impressive.
Wait. You mean you don't mean to tell
And for some reason, since I forgot to measure the old tire tube with the Goodyear tire tube, and as a matter of fact, it does resembles in a sort of way.
I mean, it could sure literally fit. It does actually, but I'm just convinced of how it's gonna all this fit in there.
And the only thing that might fit entirely should be the tire tube against the tire rubber inside of it.
Please don't rip.
And this could lead the bike to its full completion. The only thing left to do now is to put the green rubber back to its rim, along with the tube inside it. And I'm very excited to give myself a bike ride with this thing, depending on the weather thing, which we'll get to in a moment.
Here comes the worst part. Actually, that should be good. Some air, which means I'll be careful how to fill some more air. Here we go. Careful now. Good. Yes! Oh, I'm happy. I'm so happy. It's gonna be back in the road in no time. That's my promise.
And now to the last step. We're almost there. And that's to put the wheels back to the base of the bike. I just had to remember where I lastly put the nut bolts, like last time. So at this moment, I'm gonna leave the bike the way it is, even if it is a little bit rusted, but still a strong and clean bike, and it's still useful. I just had to make sure the wheels are fitted properly with the chain connected with each other in order to have it ride smoothly. And it's done, but not done yet, just one thing left. And it's something I usually like to be handy with. If I'm gonna go for a bike ride, I might need something to hydrate right next to me, instead of just having a bottle of water inside my pocket, and it keeps falling off while riding most of the time. So I bought this bottle holder for the bike, with the color Balt Green to match the ambient design of the bike, although it doesn't fit universally on any other bottle. But I might find a way for that. It could be any other bottle besides that. Or it could be any other bottle that exactly fits. And because the bike already has screws mounted on the rail, I'll just attempt to install this bottle holder.
Get off. Oh, got it.
And then say to myself, it's done.
And it's done.
and the only thing left to do right now is to test the road bike out on the road. But I might be a bit too late. It just snowed on the asphalt already. Now you might think this road bike is done the same way as the beginning of the video that looks in good condition before I started restoring this bike. As you may see it now, it still looks in good condition. I may not consider this project a restoration project. All you see is some tire replacing problems, which is perfectly done. Whatever is left out of this mess is to make this bike in mint condition. The cleaning, which you're gonna have to see for yourself coming soon in the next few videos away. And it may ruin my moment to have a cycling training session coming to a halt. However, I made enough confidence to make this road bike rideable once winter's over. So at the end, out of all the experience I've learned from replacing tires on the bike and some other mechanical works and cleaning them, I might consider opening a bike shop for that. But as anyone would say, I'm not an engineer. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more videos like this.